The Council-in-Committee meeting to order. And first off, we have delegations. Tom Ethier, Assistant Deputy Minister, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, a Resource Stewardship Division, and Tim Abata, Forest Health Officer, Ministry of Forests, Lands and Natural Resource Operations. If you're clear to come forward and do your presentation, we look forward to hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for making time on your agenda. I know it's a busy time. I hope to be able to go through quickly the nature of this insect that's been found in Surrey, sort of a bit of a history on how we've monitored and detected it and have been able to keep BC gypsy moth free for the last 30 years. So I'm Tom Ethier, Assistant Deputy Minister with the Ministry, and with me is Tim Abata, Forest Health Officer. So this works. So gypsy moth is firmly established in the eastern U.S. and Canada. Its original range is in Europe, and it has gotten over to North America, as many invasive species have, and it has wreaked economic havoc and ecological havoc in that part of the world. What is particularly impactful about the species is during the caterpillar phase, they feed on the deciduous trees and shrubs on the new growth. Outbreaks in BC could threaten some rare ecosystems that are associated with this species, such as the Garry Oak ecosystem on the southern Gulf Islands and Vancouver Island. Western Canada and Western U.S. states are free of gypsy moth, and being free of gypsy moth allows for the free flow of products, at least associated with any restraints that could come with having a positive occurrence. Failure to eradicate will result in quarantining of the infested area by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, requiring inspection of goods leaving the area. There's also the possibility of further restrictions placed by individual states in the U.S. Gypsy moths have been intercepted and successfully eradicated in BC since the 1970s. Interagency cooperation and an integrated approach has prevented the establishment of gypsy moth in BC. We do this namely by monitoring for new introductions on an annual basis, assessment of the kinds of what the introductions look like, and applying treatments when a breeding population is found. We do have a bit of a structure around the monitoring of gypsy moth. There's a BC Plant Protection Advisory Council, of which there's a technical advisory committee for gypsy moth. That technical advisory committee is composed of people from the Ministry of Forests, Lands and Natural Resource Operations, the Federal Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the Canadian Forest Service, Ministry of Agriculture, and Ministry of Environment, the latter two agencies being provincial agencies. So every year we put out about 5,000 traps in British Columbia. The traps are laid out on a regular grid of 1 trap per square mile along major travel corridors and within cities. These traps have pheromones that attract these moths, and that's how that's the method of detection. Higher densities of trapping is put around ports, container yards, or other areas at high risk for importation from areas known to be infested. Each moth captured triggers a higher density trapping grid to be installed in the next summer to determine if there is a viable or breeding population. Specifically in Surrey here, in 2013 we had 3 consecutive traps with 1 moth each were found in the regular detection grid. So this triggered us to place the higher density grids in the following year, just this past summer, and resulted in 197 moths and many egg masses found. With this, we found a viable breeding population, and what we're here presenting is that we are planning an aerial program of spraying of 4,856 hectares for spring of 2015. There's also been a positive detection in Delta. 1 moth was caught at the Delta Golf Club in 2013, established a higher density grid in 2014, and we caught 7 additional moths. Because of the close proximity to the Surrey treatment area and potential for spread into Burns Bog An area of 204 hectares is also planned to be treated by aerial application. So this is the 204 hectare area in Delta. So Highway 15, 64th Avenue. And this is the treatment area for Surrey Cloverdale area, 64th Ave and 176 being sort of the epicenter of it. Gypsy Moth Treatment Authority. Treatment programs are conducted under a regulation established by Ordering Council under the BC Plant Protection Act. And that act is under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Agriculture. The aerial application of pesticides over populated areas requires a pesticide use permit from the Ministry of Environment. So our agency makes application to the Ministry of Environment for the issuance of an aerial spray permit, and so we are going to be essentially starting the clock ticking on that on November 6th, and we're going to put ads in these papers: the Surrey North Delta Leader, the Surrey Now, the Indo-Canadian The Link, White Rock Peace Arch News, and Indo-Canadian Times. If the pesticide use permit is granted, and we're aiming to get that decision by late January, we'll advertise in the same 5 newspapers, which will initiate a 30-day appeal period to the Environmental Appeal Board. So 30 days after the permit is granted, an appeal can be launched. During that 30-day appeal period, we will be also holding additional open houses to answer questions and provide information. If there is an appeal, we anticipate the Environmental Appeal Board process to run through that process and render a decision by April. The operational program. So the pesticide use permit will outline terms and conditions associated with pesticide application. The pesticide that we're talking about here, and that's sort of central to the permit application, is Bacillus thuringiensis crustacei. Not so easy for me to say. It's a naturally occurring agent found in soils. It is used very successfully to target the larva stages of moths and butterflies, or in this case moths. But it doesn't have any effect on humans, birds, mammals, reptiles, honeybees, spiders, that kind of thing. We expect it to be, each application will be done first light to no later than 7:30 on each day. Multiple days will be required to complete each application. We think 3 applications will be required. The treatment window is late spring, so first application would be in early May and final application in early June, so about a month's time period. Sources of information. We have a website that provides real-time information on the progress here associated with the permit application, and that's up there. There's also a 24-hour information line, pre-recorded information with program update, included anticipated treatment dates. You can also leave a message, and our staff will get back to the folks who are leaving a message. We are planning on an email listserv which will send out program updates, including notification the night before for planned treatments. So thank you. That takes me to the end, and we're here for any questions you have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I chair our Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee. My question, and thank you for all the information you've provided, and you're saying that there's no health impacts to humans or other insects and animal species and so on. Are there any documented negative environmental effects to this type of spraying that you're aware of?
Yeah, thank you. The Health Canada has reviewed all of the information regarding potential adverse effects over the, 50 years of use of this product, and have concluded there are no significant health effects. And they are the regulatory agency that allows us to use this product in the method we're using it.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Hepner.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Have there been any incidents directly within our city, or is Delta the closest? And then what would happen if the gypsy moth were pervasive?
Okay, the Surrey, I don't recall there being another treatment. I may be incorrect there, but I'll have to check my records. But the last treatment we did locally would be in Delta, although we did one in 2010 in Richmond. That was the last closest aerial application. Let's see, the second question was... What was your second question? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Well, what actually happens if the gypsy moth were to...
If the gypsy moth becomes established in BC, in this area, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, who's responsible for regulating invasive species that are not officially established in Canada, they will put a regulated area over this, what they call the infested area. Which will result in the requirement to inspect individual shipments of certain types of products that may harbor the gypsy moth. And they must get a phytosanitary certificate before they're allowed to leave the area and cross the border.
And if there's, besides the sort of regulated path that would happen there, it would also, gypsy moth would then expand its range. It could become more pervasive in agricultural settings, so blueberry crops, those kinds of things would be at risk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a food security measure as well? Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further speakers or anybody asking questions, I want to thank you for your presentation, for warning us, for giving us lots of time, and you know, we look forward to asking questions if we need to, or having you back if we have to. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.